This is an early prototype of Kimodo Motion Studio, the plugin I am building for Unreal, which is powered by NVIDIA's Kimodo, a controllable AI motion generation system capable of creating high quality human animations from simple text prompts and kinematic constraints. In my previous demonstration, the results were functional but not very polished. Since then, I have been refining the system and the animations are now significantly more accurate, stable and natural. I am also introducing more animator-friendly controls into the workflow. With constraint-based posing, you can guide specific parts of the motion and the system will build the animation around those inputs. This is still a work in progress, but it is steadily evolving into a much more practical and animator-friendly tool. In this video, I will walk you through how the system functions and how the constraint-based controls allow you to guide and refine the generated animations. Okay, so here I am generating the animation based on the prompt. A person walks forward and starts running. Okay, so the animation is generated and it looks perfect so far. It first works and then it starts to run. Let's break this down into two separate prompts. First one is going to be a person walks forward, and I will click on this plus button to add another prompt. A person starts to run forward, and now we'll press generate. Alright, so the animation looks perfect. It also starts the second animation with walking. Probably it is trying to blend it with the previous animation. It starts to run towards the end of the animation, so it is precisely able to follow the prompt. So this is another example where it first walks forward and then jumping and then landing smoothly. So now let's say I want to create a constraint to the animation. Constraints are basically animation poses that your generation should respect, and this gives a lot of manual controls to the animators as well. Let me show you how it works. So in this full body constraint row over here, I will click to add a constraint at this given frame. This brings up this joint control system, and each of these controls can be translated and rotated further to modify this particular animation pose. This system functions similar to a typical FKIK control rig, but it is still basic and currently focused on just getting the job done. I'm constantly working on improving this system further so that it gets much more user-friendly and efficient. The constraints are not intended to modify the current animation directly. You can still view the original animation as it is, except that it will snap to the adjusted control at the specified time. The use case of constraint is visible only when you're generating the next iteration. As you can see, the animation is now naturally built around the constraint pose, using it as guidance. This is where the system starts to feel really powerful. Here is another example of how the system is using the constraint to guide the generated animation very realistically. You can also add multiple constraints to shape the motion further. So I added one constraint here. I will add one more constraint over here. Let me generate the animation. So this will now use 3 full body constraints as guidance. Cool. You can see how the generated animation is blending so smoothly and naturally with the constraint poses. This is still an early stage of the Kimodo Motion Studio plugin for Unreal Engine, but the progress so far is promising. With more refinement, better controls and improved generation quality, this can evolve into a practical tool for real animation workflows. There is a lot more to build and I will continue pushing it further. I will soon bring you with more updates and a possible release date.